Sucks. That should be the opening before that.
Ooh. Okay. Ooh.
This is Horror Sucks, the podcast where we watch horror movies and tell you why they suck. I'm Ashley Atkins, and while I had a really rough morning, I had a really great day.
Yeah, you definitely stuck the landing. I'm Carter Rhodes, and we are going to have kind of an irregular schedule coming up just because I'm going to be moving, so it might just... Yeah, Ashley knows that already. It's probably going to take us a week or two just to get a rhythm going, and then we'll be able to get back onto a schedule. We've already missed... We're already good for, like, every other week anyway, so...
Yeah, we'll be back on track, I think, by October.
Oh, Lord. October is going to be tough just because... It's going to be the new struggle plus the October movie.
Yeah,
rush.
but we have a whole month to prepare for that.
Mm-hmm.
You're moving literally this week. Is the
That's
first
true.
week of September. We've got the time.
Yep.
It's fine.
So, also, we have not we are like 2 weeks after seeing it. Maybe just...
I think it's... Is it 2 or 3?
I don't think it's 3.
It's been a while.
It
So
might be
we
3.
saw this movie
Might be 3
opening weekend.
Yeah.
Or opening week. Or just after opening
And it did come out like early August.
Yeah, it's been a while, and it's now the end of August, and we're finally recording.
Yeah. Val wanted to see this movie really badly, and I did something I don't normally do, which is I kept my thoughts to myself while we watched it, and she has been waiting patiently for me to absolutely tear this movie apart.
Okay, leaving the movie, I thought you guys enjoyed it, and I was like, kind of sitting there like, wait, what?
I didn't want to, because she enjoyed it. I didn't want to be like, this is the worst movie ever, especially because I have a platform to actually express myself in. I hated it. Yeah.
Oh, my dad did give us some criticism that we should stop saying that we hated it at the top, because then people will stop listening.
I simply don't believe that people are tuning in to get the definitive opinion. I think that people want to know what we think. And I don't think that anyone has ever been like, well, it sucks. Click.
Guess.
There's way better mediums. You don't have to, like, sit through an hour if you just Google, is this movie good? And trust the first result. We're here to tell you why it sucks, not if it sucks.
Okay. That is fair.
Sorry, Mr. Ashley.
Mr. Ashley!
Yeah. So,
okay.
What did we watch this time? Notice I didn't say this week.
We watched The Last Voyage of the Demeter.
Mm-hmm. And it is especially fitting because this movie came out during the Demeter phase of Dracula Daily. So... Pretty cool, isn't it? That we've done 2 different vampire movies in the same Dracula Daily cycle.
Yep.
But yeah, it got away from me, but I believe right around the time the Demeter's journey was wrapping up, the movie came out. It might have been on the same day.
Very nice.
Mm-hmm. So, one last note before we begin.
Yep.
I have not eaten dinner yet, and to celebrate the fact that I'm moving, my dad bought me and Ashley 2, what are these, 20 ounces of cider. My
favorite part of this is that I am going to drink about a quarter of this and then go, here, Carter.
Yeah, Ashley's I'm 100% sure going to be okay to drive.
Yeah.
So first of all, it's a race against time for me to get food in my system before the alcohol.
This might be a rough episode by the end.
It's going to be a great episode, one way or another. So, why don't you tell us how we do the podcast?
Sure. So, how things work is we watch a movie, and then we come here and tell you about it. We start with the plot, and then we go into some fun facts. Questionable, but facts is true. And then we break it down in the good, the bad, and the spooky, and then we wrap it up with our overall impressions, our memorial line highlight, and a rating. And that's it. Cool. And I'm doing the plot this week, so I get to keep talking. Mm-hmm. Okay, so like we said, it's been a while since we watched the movie. So if it sounds like I'm reading,
I will,
it's because I am.
Yeah, I will just start by saying that this movie is based, if you didn't pick it up, I don't think I explicitly said it, this movie is based off of a series of entries in Dracula called, like, the Log of the Demeter.
Yeah.
And essentially, the idea is Count Dracula makes his journey to London. And while it's happening, he's kind of feeding on the people in the boat. And it's a very spooky and interesting section. And it culminates in, I believe it ends with, maybe not the captain, but the final guy ties himself to the mast with or not the mast, the wheel with a crucifix to keep away Dracula, but he dies of exposure. So all they have is the ship's log to remember what happened.
Okay. So this movie starts with so this movie takes place in 1897, and it starts with a merchant ship washing up ashore in England. And among the wreckage, they find the captain's log. And then we flashback a few weeks prior to this.
There's this horrible scene where they open the log in absolutely torrential downpour.
Why would you ever do that?
I was like, that book is instantly ruined, and as is any chance you have of knowing what happened.
Yeah, insane.
There was a shot of, like, water running down the page, and I'm like, I can tell this wasn't handwritten because the ink isn't running, but whatever.
It was atrocious. Anyways, so 4 weeks earlier, the boat's name is the Demeter. It's Demeter, right? Not Demeter?
I believe it's Demeter.
Okay. So the Demeter makes port in Bulgaria, and it's picking up cargo to go to London, and the captain is looking for a few people to add to his crew. And
Captain's played by Davos Seaworth from Game of Thrones.
Oh. So they line people up, and they're going off one by one, and there's this guy who's looks pretty well put together compared to everyone else. There's a couple notable facts about him. He is black. He's also carrying, like, a doctor's bag, and he doesn't look very disheveled. He looks, yeah. So they kind of stopped him, and they're like, "What's your deal?" He's like, "Well, I'm a doctor." And they were like, "Why are you trying to be on this ship? Your hands are not going to make it." Like,
you got little delicate lady hands.
So they choose someone else, but then as they're, like, loading up the ship, the guy they chose sees the sigil on the crate and says, "I'm out."
Dracula's sigil. It's a dragon.
And he goes, "I'm out. Screw you." And I think a couple other people are also out. The only one who's
almost squishes the kid when he drops the crate.
Yeah, the crate falls and
the dude saves the kid.
And so they ask him to come on board. And so he does, but no one really likes him. They're all very, like, grew up on ships, have only known ships. It's what they do kind of people. And then one night they were kind of taking turns on deck at night, and was it Clemens? Was the black guy's name is Clemens, right?
I honestly don't remember. Oh, jeez. I don't remember any of the characters' names except for the captain, because his name was his title. Oh, and Demeter. I forgot about Demeter. And obviously Dracula.
I think Clemens is the doctor. So Clemens and another guy are on deck when they see a mysterious figure cloaked in fog. Later, one of the crates falls and breaks open in the cargo hold, and they find a woman who is barely alive. So he takes her and puts her up in a shed and nurses her back to health eventually. But it takes a while, and everyone on deck is like, "Get rid of her, throw her overboard. A woman on deck is bad luck."
He gives her blood transfusions. Yes. More on that later.
Yes. And there's also a little boy, as we mentioned. This is the captain's grandson. Mm-hmm. What parent would let their kid go on a boat? I don't know. And there's also a dog named Huckleberry, who we'll get to him later. So eventually, Huckleberry is attacked and ripped to shreds.
Along with the livestock.
Yes, along with all their livestock, which was their source of food on the trip. And the young boy who was responsible for the animals is very upset about it. And Clemens comforts him, and they form some sort of bond, which is very nice. Eventually, the woman wakes up, and she has all these bite marks on her, and it's very odd. Her name is Anna. And she warns them about a monster from Transylvania, a creature that feeds on blood of humans. And near her town, they called it Dracula, to whom she was given as a slave of blood so that the monster would leave them alone. She tells them that he's on the ship, and they don't listen. So Dracula starts hunting them down during the night and picking them off one by one, essentially. Mm-hmm. And to start, he picks off one guy, and they try to save him, and he's comes back undead and tries to attack them, and they tie him to the mast, and he burns in the sunlight. Mm-hmm. And then they all kind of start dying, but then the little boy is attacked, and he tries to save him, but he wasn't able to, and they go to throw him overboard, but then the captain says, no, he's breathing, and they untie him, and as they do, he comes to life undead. And they throw him overboard, and he burns and drowns at the same time, which is rough.
Tough way to go.
The little boy's name was Toby.
Groovy.
The remaining crew members decide to try and destroy the ship and take down Dracula to prevent him from getting to London. The captain is killed, and so is another guy. Anna is bitten at some point. Eventually, Anna and the doctor are the only ones left. But before that, they try to sink the ship, and they go down to like the lower parts of the ship, and are starting to try and like punch it. And the guy who is like the first mate is like, this is my home. This is the only thing I've known. I can't destroy her. And then he's like, yes, I have to. So eventually there's nothing left of this ship except for like a mast. Or there's nothing left of the ship that Clemens and Anna are on except for the mast. And then Anna goes, oh, so part of the blood fusions of giving it to her gave Dracula power. Mm-hmm. And that was part of it. But they're hanging on by this mast, and they're just in the water. And she's like, see you later. I gotta die too. Because she was bitten again. And I think
no, it's the same bite.
Oh, it's the same bite.
It just bought her time.
Yeah, so he makes it to shore, and now we're at where we started with the crash of the boat, and Clemens is in a bar, and he sees a guy with like a cane and
a dragon cane.
Yes, and he realizes it's Dracula and that he lived, and that's it.
Yep.
Did I miss anything? It wasn't a very complex story.
Yeah, is like. It wasn't your best plot, but also there's no need to go over it because it was a very simple story.
Also, to be fair, I thought it was pretty good for seeing it like
maybe
2.5 weeks ago. Like, give me a little bit of credit.
Yeah. Essentially, they find a woman on board. Dracula picks them off one by one. They destroy the ship. The woman dies, and Dracula lives with Clemens deciding he's going to like hunt him or whatever.
Oh gosh, I hope that doesn't mean a sequel.
Of course it does. It always does.
Why?
So,
if you couldn't tell my opinion already.
Some fun facts. Director Andre Ovredal described this movie as basically Alien on a ship in 1897. What a fucking generous description of his own work. I'm not even... Alien wasn't even the first movie to do the, like, trapped with a killer.
No, that's classic.
I suppose in some level, a part of it is this creature they don't understand, more so than, like, a killer or anything. But even so, the Dracula's design was based on Count Orlok from Nosferatu.
Yeah.
Demeter is the Greek god of the harvest.
So... I thought the Greek god name was actually pronounced Demeter. Maybe I heard that incorrectly.
I've just heard it as Demeter.
Okay, then I'm wrong.
I don't know.
I truly accept that I'm wrong 90% of the time.
So, the home of the castle associated with Dracula is Bran Castle. I believe no relation to Bram Stoker. In Romania. And the journey from Bran Castle to London would have been kind of insane. They would have had to go inland to the nearest port in Romania, which is Constanta. They would have had to go by road there. When they reached the ship, they would have had to go through the Bosphorus Straits, which is by Turkey, across the Sea of Marmara, into the Mediterranean, through the Mediterranean, out the Straits of Gibraltar, and then, and only then, could they start actually moving towards London and sailing along the coast of Portugal, Spain, and France.
That sounds hard.
Yep, it would have been many weeks, and they almost certainly would have had to stop at other ports along the way. In this movie, they were offered a bonus for arriving early, which, frankly, I accept as a reason. It's fair. This is one of 2 2023 Universal films featuring Count Dracula. Do you know what the other is?
Universal films?
Yes.
I don't think Renfeld was a Universal
It was.
film. Okay. So there was one more, wasn't
No, there's just 2.
I thought you said it was
got it
one
right.
of 3.
I thought I said one of 2. In
Okay.
any case,
well, I got it
right.
2.
Yeah. So, lastly, this isn't really a Dracula fact, but I just find it interesting. They tell time on a ship in 30-minute increments, where each 30 minutes is a bell, and it goes up to 8, so it goes 4 hours, and that's when the shift ends. And so that's what the phrase, I don't know if you've heard it, 8 bells and all's well. It means the shift's over, and there's nothing to report. So, next person comes on. So,
Interesting.
yes, now we're ready to talk about this movie.
Okay, hit us with some good.
The good. Dun, dun, dun. I like Dracula. Not as like a character design, just, I like the original Dracula.
Yeah, you like Dracula as a being. I agree with that.
Don't even particularly like adaptations of Dracula. Just I like the original material.
Yeah. I will say I liked some of the shots from the beginning. Not the very beginning, but like right when they get on the boat and the boat's sailing at night, like when we first get glimpses of Dracula, I liked some of those. I could really pulling from the well.
Yeah, if I could sneak in a bad here, the shots, I thought in the beginning were okay, but then throughout the movie started to feel really claustrophobic on the ship. I thought that was the wrong approach. I thought they should have shown the ship and only the ship for as far as the eye can see.
Yeah.
I think they were trying to make them feel cramped when they should have made them feel alone.
I agree with that.
So I thought that they didn't do as good a job there as they could have. But in the beginning, I didn't mind it.
I think when I'm talking about the shots, I do mean like the quality of the film. Like there was just the way the fog kind of melded and stuff like that. I liked those aspects. The shots themselves did not stand out to me particularly. It's just the way I think the shot was framed is more what I'm talking about.
Until they introduced the character that got burned alive, the night and day was a really cool dynamic because it was literally you would watch as it became dangerous for the characters. And even they didn't mention it, but you could tell they were aware. They were vaguely aware of the fact that they were safe during the day and in danger at night. And they didn't need to say it. We, the viewer, knew it. The characters had some kind of innate sense of it. And on top of that, I mean, you would too in that scenario.
I was going to say, being on the ocean at night with no source of light, it absolutely is scary to begin with. So, without the actual threat and prior to people dying, it was already tense.
Yeah.
I have to agree. Making the daylight the good guy ruins it.
Yeah. I liked generally the idea of the of Clemens being a doctor because it meant that he could be kind of analytical. Like, there were a couple of scenes very similar to The Thing where they're just looking at it on a table, kind of picking apart what it is.
Yeah.
It really doesn't lend itself super well to the 1890s, but whatever.
Honestly, at this point, like, no one is sitting there being like, this is inaccurate. No.
We are.
I mean, are you really is that really what you're harping on?
No. I will also point out he comments that he suspects it's rabies. The dog, like, suffered from rabies, attacked the animals, and then, for whatever reason, was, like, mortally wounded by the livestock and died from its wounds. The rabies vaccine had been invented 12 years earlier. That's how old this is in terms of science.
Wow.
Is 12 years earlier they invented. And that was one of the first vaccines, too.
Wow. That's insane. Just like a wild concept to me as someone who doesn't have many threats.
In the before COVID, I took a class called Plagues and Disease, and my professor, so he used to say all the time, he's like, I have not been the same since I got my degree. If you guys knew how few things needed to go right to have a global pandemic, you wouldn't sleep. And I thought about him a lot.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the post SARS thing. That I mean, isn't SARS a type of coronavirus anyway?
I know they're associated.
But in any case, that was scary enough. Only one or two more things had to go right, and here we are.
Yep.
Anyway, back to
Trashula. The kid was cute.
I don't count that as a good, but I accept it as yours.
I don't have much. I genuinely, I can list off some bads if you're ready to transition, but I think
two more.
Yeah, there we go.
The captain's log style of storytelling, which is how it was originally portrayed, lends itself really well to a narrator. I thought that was a fairly easy transition for them.
Yeah. I liked that.
You could tell a lot of... Unfortunately, you could tell when they were quoting the source material and when they weren't, because...
Well, so I liked it and I didn't because it came off kind of cheesy. And I was like, oh, this is a very serious period drama. Like,
my last good... Actually, I suppose I have one more. My last good is the woman has the same kind of back shoulder mole as me. Just has one on the back of her right shoulder. And I saw it. I was like, ooh, it's me. Okay. I felt represented.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to the bad now.
All right. One more.
You have one more good?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't even know if I can call it good. Maybe it's just a transition to the bad. But once we finished the movie and we went to the bathroom separately.
Actually, we went and held hands the whole time.
Actually, I don't even think you guys used the bathroom. That was wild.
It was just you.
Yeah, so I go in, and there's this dude in the stall just melting the porcelain. Just, like, turning heads. Just, it would be crass for me to try to replicate the noises I heard. Think of just the most stock man using toilet sound you can think of.
Oh, poor guy.
In the fucking Salem, New Hampshire Cinemark. The men's room by the exit, this dude. by the Black Panther poster. This dude is just fighting for his life. I didn't see, but I bet you anything his shirt was off. Like, he was panting, a lot of grunting.
Oh, this poor man.
Yeah.
All right.
I wonder what movie he was missing doing that. Because, he had been there for quite some time by the time we got out.
I'm wondering, though, if it's like he was holding it in for the movie to end, so he backed it up a little.
what the Last Voyage of the Demeter does to a motherfucker. All right. Are we ready to talk about... Are we done talking about the poop deck? All right, let's talk
I'm mad at that I laughed about it, but I think it was just so... I was already mid-laugh about something else. Yes, please, let's move on. Although I appreciate that story. I will...
All right, well, give it a pause so we can cut.
Pause.
Now let's talk about the bad.
Okay. The bad. So oh gosh, where do I start? So I want to start with the dog.
Mm-hmm.
It was CGI'd, right?
I don't know if it was CGI'd. I thought it was just a very bad, like, stuffed animal.
But it would have still had to be CGI'd to.
It was a very
moving.
fake dog.
Yeah, it was so distracting. Number one, because it looked fake.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, though, this dog was incredibly clean. Everyone is wearing these like really dirty clothes, and I can't imagine they're using their precious water to clean this dog.
Yeah, it's not like a cat which can clean itself.
That's all I could think about the entire movie until the dog died. And then when the dog died, I honestly, as someone who cries when dogs die, didn't feel bad.
Yeah.
That's when you know it's a bad movie.
Yeah. So Ashley mentioned that Clemens was black. Literally about 10 minutes before the end of the movie, race had not been mentioned or even hinted at throughout this movie. He's like, I graduated top of my class, and they didn't accept me because of my skin color.
You're right. It felt like an afterthought.
Yeah, it was like, not only was it thrown in, I can't stress enough, like 10 minutes before the end of the movie, it thematically had nothing to do with the movie or his character. It was just kind of like a bad thing that happened to him. I'm like, that sucks, but it doesn't give me any insight into you.
It was very uninteresting.
Yeah, it's like, he's still just this scientific-minded guy.
Yeah.
I was like,
It didn't add to the story.
In any way. Like, it was just such an afterthought that it frustrated me.
I could imagine, like, at first, they were like, what's a guy like you doing in Bulgaria? A Cambridge education. And then, when he first got on the ship, he explained this. But it was like the fact that it was like towards the very end, it was like, did they forget that they wanted to include this? Like, it didn't make any sense where it was supposed.
Yeah. And then on top of that, they were already like such a rich cast of characters on the ship that I don't know if it was historically accurate, but I certainly got the impression from them that, like, a misfit or an outcast of society would certainly be welcome there. So,
right.
So, like, they established this little area where he was, like, accepted at least, and then he's rejected by everyone.
Yeah, it just genuinely, I don't know. The boat dynamic was weird.
What's his name? There was the vice captain, I don't know what you call him. First mate. Yeah, he like, his character arc was the captain's like, I'm old, I'm retiring, and I'm gonna live with my daughter. I'm gonna recommend you to be the vice or the real captain. And the dude was just like, he leading the charge to kill the woman.
He walked away and went sublime behind the door frame.
He was like leading the charge to kill the woman, leading the charge to kill Clemens. Like, nothing's wrong, it's okay, there's no such thing as monsters.
Truly oblivious.
Yeah, and then finally, the captain's about to die or something, and he's like, you would have made a good captain. I'm like, no, he wouldn't have.
Yeah, no, he would have been a terrible captain.
Yeah.
He would have taken very good care of his ship, and that's it.
Yeah, it would have been him alone on the ship.
Crew gone.
Yeah.
Mutiny happened, but he killed them all.
Yeah. So, back to Clemens. His, like, character motivation, I don't remember what the fuck they're talking about. They're like, what are you gonna spend your money on? And
he's like, I don't need money.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute, what?
His character arc is, he's like, I want to understand the world. And I'm like, that's the most just Mary Sue, like, It's lame.
Yeah, it's lame.
And also, on a surface level, a stupid thing to say in conversation. Wasn't there that scene in Alien? Like, they were all talking about what they were going to do when they got back.
Yeah.
It just, this whole movie is a lot of missed opportunities until it reaches a tipping point, in which case it just was a train wreck. But it didn't start as a train wreck.
So, I really hated this whole dynamic with the girl on board.
Mm-hmm.
Not even the fact that they're like, oh, it's bad luck to have a woman on board, throw her off. Like, honestly, it wasn't interesting, but sure. But it's just the fact that, like, he revives her and then she, like, kind of becomes an integral part of, like, the crew and, like, destroying Dracula and just, like, becomes important. And it's just, like, I don't. That's a no for me.
Yeah.
She also, as a character, wasn't interesting.
None of them were. They were all very boring characters.
Yeah. She gives this backstory about, being his slave and, like, being in Romania. And I was like, can we wrap this up, please?
She was like, my village sold me to him as a peace offering so that he wouldn't prey on the rest of the village. And I was like, that's smart.
Yeah.
Better to sacrifice one boring loser than the whole village.
All right, well, we know Carter's answer to the train question.
All right, well, that's just... I would roast you nonstop if you were like, I don't want to pull the lever. I'm going to let 4 extra people, not 4 people, 4 extra people die because I'm too afraid to attach my name to the fact that I might have been kind of responsible for one person.
No, I know. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Train question is stupid.
It is. So,
in general, the movie just had terrible storytelling. Like, the beginning was so much foreshadowing, and we knew what
the movie was going to be about. You don't need to really lay it in thick.
Yeah. There were like 10 different people talked after the opening, by the way. After we saw the fact that the ship was destroyed, 10 different people would talk about how this voyage is cursed. The movie is called The Last Voyage of the Demeter. I get it. Start me off normally. Treat it like you've already established that there's going to be something. Alien did that. Alien's like, yeah, it's Alien. People are trapped on a thing with an alien. And then they didn't say, ooh, imagine if an alien is going to show up. Then the ship, like, the entire tone of the movie changes after they get on the ship and becomes goofy for a while as they meet all their wild, like, casts of characters. The boys showing Clemens around.
Yeah.
The knocking right off the bat, as soon as he's like, it's faster to knock. Very obvious what they're building to. It was...
I get, like, the need to establish it, but they kind of linger on it a little bit.
Yeah.
That I was like, come on.
The book, like, from the point of view of Dracula, or from...
The captain's...
The original Dracula.
Yes.
They originally just see someone, and they think it's a stowaway. And it's a very calm, logical progression of events. They're like, there could be a stowaway. I don't think it's possible, but why don't we search the ship? And they don't find anyone. And it starts to get more and more intense, makes less sense. This started off, like, making no sense. And so the characters immediately went to panic mode.
Yeah. My biggest complaint about the movie, it's not really horror. It is drama with a little bit of spook. Just sprinkled on, and that's being generous to say it was a little spooky. I think there were some moments that were that, but it just really felt like a drama, and I was just bored.
I thought it was horror. I didn't think it was, like,
really?
particularly good or anything.
I don't know. I thought it was a stretch.
I mean, like, in the same sense that I think Jaws is horror, is like,
okay.
Conceptually, these people are being hunted in a confined area. Generally, I call that horror.
All right. Well, I do agree Jaws is horror. I also kind of put that in this category where it's, like, kind of toting the line a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. I just felt like it lingered too much on the drama. And I don't mean the drama. I mean like a period drama, like a drama in the sense of what that means to film.
Mm-hmm. Camera work was pretty terrible. Same with the music. Wasn't even very bad. It just was
nothing
cheesy.
to write home about. Like,
yeah.
Either way.
There's one scene in which, in the beginning, when they're loading the things and they're like, what the hell, why aren't these guys helping us? The contract says they were supposed to help us load it onto the ship. And they're like refusing to touch it. And the guy is like, who speaks Romanian, asks them, and they go on this like, this is like a cursed box. We cannot touch it, for we fear that we will not return. We fear you will not return. Godspeed on your journey. And the captain's like, what'd they say? And the guy goes, he says it's cursed. I was like, that's a huge missed opportunity to like have them speak in Romanian, and we kind of get the gist that they're afraid.
Yeah.
And then the guy will just go, they say it's cursed.
Yeah.
We understand they're afraid of it. We understand, like, they think it's cursed. It was just overtelling.
Yeah, and honestly, I felt like this movie was honestly kind of predictable.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
most horror is, but yeah.
I know. You can say that a lot.
I generally don't knock that unless it's happening on like a cellular level where I know it's going to happen in each upcoming scene.
I guess that's a good point. I don't know. I just kind of was bored because I was like, oh, this is going to happen. And then this, you know.
Yeah.
But also, too, a lot of the scenes that they were like, this is to build tension, just didn't. It was very lackluster. I feel like all the tension was really put into their relationships with one another, and
could have been done well, but it wasn't.
It wasn't. It was very uninteresting.
Mm-hmm. So some speed round.
Lay it.
Just absolutely miserable color scheme. Just
yeah.
Unless it was outside, it was just gray.
Yeah.
Every part of it. Their clothes, their skin is dirty, so it's dark. It just everything. There's a scene in which, like, it's like a jump scare where a character is looking in the dark and he thinks he sees someone, so puts their hand on his shoulder. The sting of that was, like, a full second afterwards. So, like, someone just put their hand on his shoulder and then you hear, duh! And I'm like, yeah, I saw it. There's a Dracula, like, jump scare right before the title screen where it shows, like, Last Voyage of the Demeter. He like pops up and screams. It reminded me of the Scooby-Doo Monster Mexico opening.
It does, yeah.
It was just so dumb. Dracula looks dumb and he sounds dumb. The woman describes him as like this monster wearing man's skin.
But he doesn't look like a man.
Then when he goes to London, he still looks like a monster man.
Honestly, I honestly think I would have been more favorable if by the time he got to London, he was looking, like each time he looked a little bit more human.
That would be really cool.
It would also make a lot more sense.
Every time he fed, he became more human looking.
Love it.
That would have been great.
Yes.
There are like a fucking million storms. I'm sure the weather at the sea is treacherous, but my God, was it uninteresting. It's like, oh no, something bad's gonna happen because there's a fucking storm. Why couldn't this have just been the night and day thing we were talking about? Because night clearly means danger and day clearly means safety.
Yeah.
And then the kid sucked. Just bad acting. Just bad. Hated him.
I thought he was cute. I also wasn't paying that much attention to him. I think by the time he died, I was like, okay, great, thanks. Like, clear it out.
You had your fill.
My other thing too, the CGI of when they burned was bad.
Yeah.
That's another rapid fire, but...
Do you have anything else?
Not really.
Okay, perfect. Because I have 2 unrelated facts I think you might enjoy.
Okay.
So, number 1, in Alien, one of the women on the Nostromo is actually canonically trans.
Oh.
They, if you look in he uses Mother, which is like the ship computer, and at some point it flashes up her file, and she she was born, and then as a child, they had a deficiency of females. So I don't remember if they said they deprived her of the chromosome or if it was surgical, but just an interesting thing that canonically her character was, I believe, born male.
Huh. Interesting.
Mm-hmm. And, oh, right, the blood transfusion.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So, looked up, couldn't find a whole lot of great data on this because, like, historically, people have been doing blood transfusions for thousands upon thousands of years. So there's no, like, actual date in which it was invented. Mm-hmm. But I will say, depending on his blood type, the odds of him just giving her blood and having her not die are slim.
Yeah, it really was a stretch.
I mean, let's pretend they're both, what is it? O positive is, I think, the most common. Mm. And that's, 70 to 75% of people. The odds just solely that they're both O positive are like 30%. It's around 50%, actually.
Okay.
Just real bad. She probably died from, I don't know what it is, systemic shock, if you get the wrong blood type.
I don't know what it's called, but sure.
What's your blood type?
You know, I did the test.
Oh my god.
And I think...
Didn't Ian and Holly make you go to the, like, blood type party?
We had a blood type party because I was there. It was not a...
Our friends, just to clarify, didn't know their blood type, so they had a blood type party where they got those, like, Amazon tests that would show them their blood type. I forget what they're
called. No, I didn't know my blood type, so...
I knew mine, so I didn't feel like going.
What was it? I think I'm like A negative or something. Or A positive.
That's the most Scorpio blood type I've ever heard. A negative.
You're right, because I am A negative. I'll see myself out.
I like B negative because it sounds like a command. All right, so you ready to talk about the spooky? Mm-hmm. The spooky! Number 1, the face smash. It was like a scene in which Dracula grabs some dude's face and like smashes it onto the thing. It was pretty good gore.
Yeah.
It's hard to get afraid of Dracula. It's just we know him very well.
Yeah. Honestly, there was a shot of him like under floorboards cowering that could have been interesting and kind of spooky, but it wasn't. The jump scare where Toby pops up undead. That's it. That's all I've got.
That's also one of my least favorite
I know.
takes is like a zombie when you become a vampire. You're like, you become evil. I like when they treat the vampirism like an addiction, where it's just so overwhelming, their need for blood, that it kind of takes over what they think, but it's not like, and they're evil now, so...
Yeah,
is they're like, the same person just with this new...
Like, extreme hunger.
Yeah.
That's like how Twilight does it. The definitive text on vampirism. So, honestly, I got the impression that these... the undead people were not necessarily vampires in the same sense that Dracula was vampire. Is that they came back as undead. It's like how Stephen King just describes it in The Dark Tower, where there are true vampires that were created with the disease versus those that are bitten. Mm-hmm. It's a completely different sort of way. Okay. And that's how I perceived it in this film as well, because they remained human looking, but like their flesh was like ripping off. It was gross.
Yeah.
It was not interesting either. Anyways.
So, the only other spooky thing I found was I just wrote dog, and I don't remember what I found spooky about it.
Was it the dog bitten alive?
I think the dog, like, the
there was a
effects
moment where, like,
they used for the dog wasn't wasn't bad.
There was a moment where like the dog ran away and a shadow flew across, and I was like,
that wasn't it.
I don't know. That was the only memorable thing.
Yeah.
Beyond the horrible CGI.
So my overall notes, it was just bad. It was like started as a redeemable movie and just quickly threw away everything good about it and became boring to watch.
My overall notes is that this was boring and I really wanted to leave halfway through.
Yeah. It's not the worst movie I've ever seen, but it certainly wasn't good.
I mean, let me put it this way. If I was watching it at home, I would have changed it to something else. Because we were in the theater, I didn't want to walk out and leave, but I didn't really enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
It was just kind of okay. Mm-hmm. Not that good.
And so my memorial line highlight is Clemens says, talking to Dracula as like Dracula's choking him or something. He's like, I do not fear you. And Dracula goes, you will. It wasn't very good, but I do need to pick something for this line. So here it is.
Okay.
What did you want to rate it?
Oh, God. 2.
Mm.
2 people burned alive.
Yeah. I'm going to give it 2 Voyages of the Dawn Treader, because that's a similar title.
Okay.
The Last Voyage of the Dawn Treader.
All right. Well, let's stop talking about this.
Mm-hmm.
And let's talk about what movie we're watching next time.
I have no idea.
I do. Cobwebs.
Oh, God. I want to watch it so bad.
I found it.
You did?
Oh, I didn't tell you this.
No.
I found it. I think it's on either Amazon or HBO Max.
Oh, thank God.
I wasn't just saying that for a joke. Well, I kind of was saying it for a joke because I had a feeling, because I didn't tell you that I found it like last weekend.
Oh, thank God. All right.
So we are actually watching Cobwebs.
My weekend is notably improved.
Yes. Let me just check real quick.
Yep. I finished Sex and the City. Very exciting. Saw the final.
Yes, it's $6.99 to rent on Amazon.
Perfect. I saw the final episode, watched about 10 seconds of the first movie until I was persuaded by Ashley to watch the second movie. And let me just say, wow.
Honestly, that was a fair switch.
One is, it's night and day.
Yeah. Honestly, I thought they would have gotten to Abu Dhabi a lot faster. Mainly because like that's the whole thing about the movie, and I think I just kind of blacked out a lot of the first initial bits. Because in my mind, it was like wedding, then straight to Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
It wasn't like
who got married again?
The 2 gay characters.
Oh yeah! Oh my God, that was the worst part. The characters that explicitly hate each other.
Yeah.
Who, like, one of the few things that I respect about Sex and the City is that the gay characters aren't like, yeah, we're both gay, so we love each other. He's like, I fucking hate that guy. He's such a prick. And the other guy's like a lot more vain about it. But I liked that they actually had personalities complex enough that they weren't just like, oh, they're both gay, well, they must be dating. And anyway, then they had them.
It's an enemies to lovers trope that everyone loves. No, I agree. They shouldn't have ended up together. They had nothing in common.
Yeah.
And Stanford had a lovely relationship with Marcus, and they ruined it. Mm-hmm. Anyways, yeah, Sex and the City 2. What a wild ride.
Yep. So I'm gonna watch Sex and the City 1, and then are
you actually gonna watch it?
Probably. Because I still have to get through Just Like That. Did you hear Kim Cattrall's coming back?
No!
Yeah, she is!
Oh shit, all right. When you get to Just Like That Season 2, let me know. I'm there. We can watch it together.
Perfect.
I don't want to watch it alone.
That seems sad.
I watched the first one alone, and I was just like, I kind of wish I had like people to like joke and jerk about, because it's not good.
Yeah.
It's stupid.
I mean, neither was Sex and the City.
I know, but I don't know. There's something about... Mm-hmm. It was in the early 90s and early 2000s. It can be bad and you can sit there and enjoy it by yourself. Versus modern Sex and the City is just like, oh.
I find myself sometimes blessed with the gift of prophecy. And I think that I can actually manifest an episode of Sex and the City right now.
Like the new
I
season?
think, I'm sorry, the new one.
Yeah.
Just like that. I think that there is, or will be soon, an episode in which Carrie feels the need to really break down the whole trans people using bathrooms thing. I feel like she's gonna need to weigh in and offer her thoughts on the matter. You guys can book it. If it doesn't exist, it will soon.
I don't know if that's brought up because pronouns are brought up and respecting your child's pronouns are brought up. Carter did watch a very, very short clip of just like that.
Did I? I don't remember.
We watched the clip where we see Harry's penis.
Did we?
Yes.
I don't remember. Well, in any case.
It was the very end. I think we watched it before watching the second one.
Yeah, I think I didn't want to wait. Well, in any case, that's my prediction. I bet you anything it's out there.
Honestly, I kind of forget. I kind of didn't really pay attention to just like that all that much beyond the big stuff. Like, big dying.
Yeah. On a Peloton bike and then getting hit with the sexual assault allegations.
Yes, there's some other big moments in the show that are very overshadow anything else that happens.
So, have we talked on the podcast about how we wrote an episode of Sex and the City, a 9/11 episode of Sex and the City?
Listen, there's so much stuff we write. The only thing that has truly stuck with me is our Fever Pitch 2.
Yes. We still need to finish. Anyway, that's for another time, I think. We've been done talking about Dracula for quite some time at this point.
Within reason. Honestly, scrap the whole episode.
I finished my cider and still have no food in my body. So
honestly, decent amount of cider went down.
Yeah.
I might have to hang out for a bit.
Oh,
it's over half.
Yeah,
it's over half.
That's one cider worth.
I have to drive. All right. Anyways, thank you all for listening. If you like what you heard, follow us on Instagram or send us an email at horrorsexpodcast@gmail.com or check us out on YouTube and leave a comment. Carter responds.
Sometimes.
Oh my gosh, did I tell you I was looking at the comments the other day?
No, what?
I don't remember really. There was nothing really notable, but I was looking just at the different videos and this Ashley chick, and I was like, who?
Oh yeah.
I was like, as if I am not a founding host of this show, as if I am not the one who suggested the idea. And then I realized it was an episode with 3 people, and I was like, okay, if this is your first episode,
was
all
it
right.
Scream? Because that makes sense.
I think it was Scream.
That makes sense because that was like our second
6.
or third episode.
No, it was Scream 6 though.
Jeez.
But I was like, okay, I kind of get it. You and Joe have a very good chemistry.
Yeah. She, there was one that was like, man, I love all of Carter's takes, not Ashley's though.
Fair. I'm not criticizing you for that.
I didn't put that.
All right. Anyways, thanks. And
be nice to Ashley.
Well, thanks. That's nice.
Stay spooky.
Horror Sex is brought to you by Wild Thing Media. Editing done by me. And production done by Carter. Bye.